Dude, we got an amazing show today. But first off, I got to introduce my cool and hip co-host here, Mark Murphy.
You got to be a Democrat who represents the party of compassion and someone who left the party that drifted to the right of love.
Oh my gosh, please. But we got to work on the intros. I sucked it up and I totally tongue-tied myself because I was going to talk about our amazing guest we're going to be talking about today. Before I started talking about you, we've got Elvis Summers in the studios, guys. And let me tell you, if you don't watch us on Facebook Live, like, we love all of our visitors all of our listeners that are listening over the airwaves. There is something beautiful and awesome about radio. But those of you that can tune into Facebook Live have got to see this guy. He is the real deal. He's got a mohawk that looks like that cool skier out of the 90s. And he's got this amazing, awesome, controversial, but super effective program that's abating homelessness. He's the guy whose little mini tough sheds, I don't know how to explain them, are getting ripped out of the pavement by Eric Garcetti down in Los Angeles. And so we're going to hear a lot about his program and a little mini tiny house that he's building for the homeless here in Santa Clarita in conjunction with our very own SCVI. So we got a super cool, awesome show lined up today. But before we get to Elvis, we do have to talk about just a couple of things and get them out of the way here. First and foremost, I said this 8 weeks ago, but I will reiterate it, and I will back it up with fact here. There is no blue wave coming. There is no blue wave coming.
Denial.
There is no blue wave coming. And please, Mark, at 7:09 and 02 seconds, you said it's denial.
You just got to remember, it's time to get out your vote. Vote your conscience. Vote your action. Yeah. Take action. Do something. But vote.
Okay, yes. And that's exactly why no blue wave is coming. I'm going to back this up with some facts right now, okay? These Brett Kavanaugh hearings have laid bare the
fact that they did not want to release those 50-some thousand documents till the last minute, didn't want to let people read them, and then there's how many hundreds of thousands of additional pages of documents. The American people deserve to know the facts.
Okay.
We should know what's going on, and these hearings so often simply sound like a romper room or an interview at McDonald's.
Okay, well, hold on. We're going to back up this claim. There is no blue wave coming with some facts. These documents you want released are under highly classified executive privilege and never will be released because they've never been required to be released by any other president. When somebody's sitting on an advisory council to a president, their conversations are confidential. Just as when you watch the movie with Tom Hanks about the Cold War, even not just executive privilege, attorney-client privilege is paramount. Without it, this concept of privacy amongst clients and advisors could never exist. If we as a people were forced to understand what the conversation was between JFK and his advisors during the Cuban Missile Crisis, he never would have had frank conversations. If we were forced to understand what Barack Obama's reasoning was when he was in the situation deciding whether or not Osama bin Laden died or lived, he may not have made those exact same decisions he did. So trying to make this false political theater that classified documents between a White House advisor, which he was at that time, and a president need to get released just for the political theater of what really should be considered a middle-of-the-road establishment normal nomination. It's intellectually dishonest, but this is what intrigues me is, and it has to do with Katie Hill and Barack Obama here. People don't realize this, but just in the past 48 hours, Barack Obama came to town, not to town, but to Southern California to specifically target Republican districts that Hillary Clinton won, because their thought process is that, these are swing districts. And they don't realize a swing district means that there are two ideas that are in equilibrium here. And with a little bit of effort, they could tip either way. And their thought, which would be, if you didn't understand Southern Californians or Republicans at all, would be if we can give a little bit of a nudge, then these will shift our way. And they need to gain over 20 seats in order to control the House. And they need to gain 2 seats in the Senate to control the Senate, right? So they're pushing very, very hard. The only problem is, and this is why I say the blue wave isn't coming, is because This district, the 25th district we're in right now, voted for Hillary not because they liked her, but because there was enough Christian and conservative never-Trumpers out there that didn't like Donald Trump, but who are getting converted. I talk to people all the time in this town that were never-Trumpers, that from the time he said 2 Corinthians instead of 2 Corinthians, or from the time that they found out of his escapades with X, Y, and Z porn stars or models or whatever, they didn't like him. They didn't like his morality, and for their deeply
moral
held
standards have dropped to his level, is what you're saying, and they've decided, that's fine. But I understand that there are people that can make that kind of a decision.
That's what Jon Stewart would say, and we'd all laugh with like trained seals.
Well, for those of us who went through the Vietnam War and were concerned about whether or not we were going to serve overseas, one of the things that I can tell you that for us, the release of those same kind of documents by the White House claiming that they needed all that privilege that lasted many years of secrecy, where documents needed to be released so the American people knew exactly why we were spending 55,000 lives and the 9 million who served overseas in Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Those are the kind of things we need to know. And this man that's been nominated is not your normal judge. He's a justice, a gentleman who has been very involved in politics, very involved in the conservative movement, and what he says and does should be part of the record.
Yeah, and his judgment, was
closed session.
Yeah, but his judgment was never called into question until he was nominated by Donald Trump. And any third-party observer, any alien from space would recognize that this is a proxy war against Donald Trump. And the actions of the Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Since he's shown that he wants to not let the president have to stand justice
no,
for
he's not,
crimes that
that's
he
not
may or may not commit.
You're putting words in his mouth, and I don't want to take too long because we got to talk about Elvis. But that's just what the media and the Senate has put in his mouth. And the reason why Donald Trump will get reelected is because the same never-Trumpers that never went to the polls for Mitt Romney because they didn't think he was conservative enough and didn't like Donald Trump and actually did vote for Hillary or didn't vote at all, like a lot of them didn't, have been converted for this reason. I have talked to many pastors in town, many religious folk and this and that are like, you know what, I can't stand the moral example that he is, but he alleviated the pressure on our church from the Johnson Amendment. And previously, we had gotten in trouble with HHS for having helped or having stances for pro-life. We had the Freedom from Religion Foundation sending us letters and launching lawsuits.
No longer matters.
So, I don't think,
and I think that's a very big point that they should stand up for, because it puts them squarely in the conservative camp.
It's not that morality doesn't matter. It's that
you're talking about pastors are saying that morality doesn't matter.
No, they're not. No, they're saying it doesn't matter as much as this. For example, I gave medical marijuana to my daughter. I know that THC and CBD has adverse effects on the developing brain. But I was also there and present when I witnessed what morphine, the Schedule III narcotic, did to her, keeping her up all night, giving her massive stomach pains, having her grind her teeth almost out of her face. So I made an executive decision as a parent that the medical marijuana is a much more peaceful sedative than the other horrible drug. I recognized I was making a decision that was a lesser of two evils. And these people are getting converted to Donald Trump as their president and will vote for him because they're looking at this saying, okay, I'm not getting the guy I want. I'm not getting Ronald Reagan. I'm not getting JFK. But this guy relieved the pressure of the Johnson Amendment on me, or else he lived up to his campaign promise of appointing a vice presidential candidate that was a conservative and of appointing a conservative, Neil Gorsuch, and now he's doing it again. This guy is actually keeping promises in a way that a conservative has never kept promises to me in my lifetime. You have to remember, guys my age, 35, we never had a chance to vote for somebody who really kept a lot of their campaign promises, and this guy is doing it. So this is why.
No, this is why. This is a reminder, as President Obama had said, people needed to get out and vote, and you want to know the importance of an election, look at what happened with Donald Trump. And that is why you have a Republican
but that's not what he's saying.
Who's putting people in there. And yes, that's exactly what he's saying.
I
the Democrats will get out and vote. It's not the Republicans who will or will not support Trump for their their lack of morality and saying this is now okay for all the things that he's doing in terms of food and the rich and this whole issue of the children being incarcerated separate from their parents, all those wonderful things that he's doing, or the things that he's ripped in terms of funding away from the various SNAP programs and other things, or infected the problem with our farmers in the Midwest. I was a soybean farmer, and I know I would have lost my shirt. But this whole thing that we're now seeing, we need to have a change. And the only way to do that is to put a corral around this guy, and the way to do that is to have a change in the local elections.
Okay, but that would require Democrats winning. And
absolutely.
The truth is,
get out and vote.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. People need to vote and vote with their conscience. And
okay, but what you're saying is different. What you're saying is different. Go out and vote your conscience, and different than what Democrats are doing. And this is the facts. They're dragging in Barack Obama. And here's the facts.
No, we're using a president who's finally said, I'm fed up because this man not only is amoral, but he's doing things that are hurting the American people.
Yeah, well, here's my problem with that. First off, my respect for George Bush skyrocketed post-presidency. Not because of, I'm fanboying it, but because I thought he was a class act. He never ripped on Barack Obama. He always stayed silent, and he was a class act. See, Barack Obama is not doing what all the presidents before him have done of staying silent.
It's a change.
It's a change. It's a break with presidents.
That needed to be done because the current man in office doesn't hold a single precedent sacred. Not a single action like freedom of the press.
Yeah.
My gosh, what happened to the chance that instead of the press being able to be allowed to report, suddenly they are fake news, where statistics or videos, etc., do not exist or do exist based on what happens on Fox News. We have a president who doesn't understand the basic fundamentals of the Constitution. He hasn't read it. He doesn't know what it's about.
I'm staying on point here about why bringing Barack Obama in to the 25th district to endorse Katie Hill I think is a bad idea, and why there is no blue wave coming. Because they're bringing Barack in, and he has only proven one thing. He burned, and I am talking about burned, the DNC to the ground. Under Barack Obama's tutelage, 1,024 seats nationwide were lost by Democrats. The single largest loss we're talking about in nearly 100 years. Okay, also, he torched the financial viability of the DNC when he created, what was his super PAC again? Forward America, My America. I can't remember the name of it. But all of the mega donors switched to donating to Barack's super PAC instead of donating to the DNC. So the DNC has been nearly gutted financially and is recuperating itself still to this day because Barack sucked up all the financial air in the room. And statistically, he is a pariah. He galvanizes more opposition against him than he helps the opponents he's endorsed. And that was proven in the 2012 and 2014 elections when he is not on the ballot. He brings plenty of people to the polls for himself. Oh, he's got massive enthusiasm of people that support him. But when he supports somebody else, it is statistically proven in hundreds of thousands of local votes and local elections that when Barack Obama shows up to town, he has the Chick-fil-A effect. When Chick-fil-A got under attack, or just recently when In-N-Out got under attack by the local Democratic Party, what happened? In-N-Out's lines got even longer because all the conservatives thought they had to support In-N-Out because it's getting, quote, boycotted by the state Democrat Party.
It's just
right?
not the Republicans. I mean, I'm an In-N-Out fan, and I believe that all the institutions ought to have the right to serve hamburgers whenever they want to.
So this is the only point, is I'm backing up the claim that no blue wave is coming.
We hope you guys continue to believe that, and it's going to be very exciting.
Okay, but here's the stats. We're not going to be a science denier, and then I'm going to talk to Elvis.
You got to talk about the various times between on the second programs. You're also talking about 8 years of a Democratic onslaught that did a lot of good change, and also the very fact that we cannot ignore the state of racism in America. It came out. It was not a surprise. I'm still convinced that had the Democratic Party ran a white male, they would have taken that popular vote, and they would have taken that other thing that the president used to win the House.
Millennials don't care about race. It's an old argument that's going to die with all you baby boomers.
They're not the only ones. They're not the only ones voting.
So just here's the point.
Unfortunately, in there.
Here's the point. Republicans only need to defend 9 seats, and they're defending friendly seats. They're being able to preserve 2 out of 9 seats is a lot easier job than Democrats who've got 32 seats. They're
pulling out all the stops, including bringing in the former president.
Yeah,
and I say, let's do it.
They're bringing in the former president, but they're bringing in a president that ends up attracting more votes against him than he gets. Because here's the deal. Democrat enthusiasm right now is plenty fine. I mean, Democrat enthusiasm right now is insanely high. They got their own Facebook pages superimposing "not my president" on their profile picture, okay? So right now, Democrats are stoked out of their minds to go to the polls. It's the independents that aren't. And amongst the independents and the Republicans, many Republicans that wouldn't go to the polls, they would go to the polls if Barack Obama endorsed their opponent. And that's my claim. So anyway, that was a laborious claim that took way too long. We actually have got a real rock star in our midst here that we're going to talk about. Hopefully, Eric, Eric Garcetti bothers me because I feel he's very much an opportunist. I know to a certain extent all
I hope
politicians are.
He needs to be listening tonight.
Yeah, but what he's been doing in the sense of running this city, well, not this city, but our sister city right next to us, okay, to me shows all the signs of somebody who has more aspirations for higher office than he does aspirations to help his own city. Okay, much like Vera Gosa before him. Okay, we got a habit of electing these guys. Okay, but we've got in the studio with us a super cool cat, Elvis Summers, who actually is getting a little bit of flack from the city, but doing something amazing. And it doesn't surprise me because it's always whenever you do something amazing that the bureaucrats come after you. All right, but Elvis, I'm going to allow him to introduce himself here in a second. But just to give you an idea, Elvis is actually curing homelessness by, shocker, building homes for the homeless. And he's going to the places where they already reside in their tents and their tarps and their cardboard boxes and literally saying, hey, what's your name, bro? Getting to become friends with them and then saying, I got a house for you. And hooking them up with these super cool, simply designed, they look like a tough shed cut in half, painted a sick color, so they don't, it's not a tent eyesore on the side of the road. So we're going to talk a little bit more with Elvis about this amazing program. Before we go to break, I want you to introduce yourself, Elvis, and then we're going to hear all about your program on the other side of the commercial break. So, Elvis, hit it. Tell us, just say hi to our amazing audience and why you're so awesome.
Well, hello, amazing audience. My name is Elvis Summers, and I build tiny houses for the homeless.
Yeah.
That is so cool, and I don't know if he's a Republican or Democrat, but who cares?
I am neither.
Amen.
He is a musician, man. Actually, you got to say, I just to tell you what this guy's like and how awesome this next segment is going to be. He came into the office right here, and he sees our sign. He says, well, I like the problem solver, Paul. I hate the politics. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, Elvis, in 1 minute, sum up what your program is so our listeners know what's on the other side of this commercial break.
Wow, 1 minute, huh?
Yeah, just 1 minute. If you had to put in 45 seconds what it is that you do, what would you say?
I would say that I build tiny houses for the houseless, and it's not a permanent solution. It's the very first step in the whole mess of steps to solve the problem. Food, water, and shelter are not optional. Yeah. People need shelter. And that's what we're starting with is shelter.
All right, and he is causing a big stink with the L.A. City Council because he's doing for like 10 cents on the dollar what they couldn't do with billions. This is Problem Solver Politics. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back in a minute.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association is hosting our annual gala, the Art Classic, Saturday, September 29th from 1:30 to 5 p.m. This fundraiser highlights professionally judged original artwork by local artists in all mediums. For only $25, you can enjoy live music, wine, hors d'oeuvres, and meet the artists in person. The Art Classic will be held at Hart Hall in Hart Park. All artwork will be on display for free public viewing Sunday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. For tickets and more information, visit us at santaclaritaartists.org.
Join City of Hope today in the fight against cancer. Make a difference by participating in City of Hope's Together for Hope, presented by Antelope Valley Hospital and High Desert Medical Group on Saturday, September 15th. Be a part of this inaugural event in partnership with City of Hope Antelope Valley and show your support toward groundbreaking research to treat and cure cancer. They welcome everyone to their 2K walk, 5K run in honor of the individuals in our lives affected by cancer. City of Hope, the miracle of science with soul. Join the movement today by registering at togetherforhope.org.
Santa Clarita Philharmonic has begun its season of free concerts. The SCP is a non-profit community-based volunteer symphony orchestra comprised of local musicians from throughout the Santa Clarita Valley who are dedicated to providing quality classical music for the residents of the Santa Clarita Valley. Like the Santa Clarita Philharmonic on Facebook or visit santaclaritaphilharmonic.org for more information.
Your hometown station.
KHTS is your official Santa Clarita Dodger station. You can catch all evening games right here on your hometown station. For all the latest news and updates on your Los Angeles Dodgers, KHTS has you covered. Go to hometownstation.com.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. We're in the studios with Mark Murphy and Elvis Summers, who's telling us about his awesome tiny home project. I got to tell you, you got to go right now to startinghuman.org. Is it startinghuman.org? What is it?
Startinghuman.org.
Startinghuman.org and see a picture of this army of tiny houses that Elvis Summers is building. Just tell us a little about the houses and what inspired you to start building them, and then we're going to talk about some of the controversy that you're causing. So what are these houses? I'm doing way too much talking here, man. I want to hear out of the mouth of babes, what is this house and how cool it is?
Well, it's super awesome. Look, if you had nothing and nowhere to go, it might as well be a castle. You know, it's a warm, safe place to be, and one of the most important steps to this whole problem, you know, is shelter. Like, if all these people were out there right now because of an earthquake, natural disaster, the fires, look at the fires we just had. Not even 2 hours goes by. The Red Cross is there. Stadiums are opened up. You know, cots and warm bowls of soup. You know, you poor people, come on in. Yeah. You're houseless? Get out of here. You know.
You know, that actually is a really good point, man.
Yeah, they bring in trailers, they put multiple people up, but we give people housing, and we give them a lot of square footage. In your case, you give them warm shelter from the weather, which right now is miserable.
Now, these tiny homes are amazing, guys. And if I understand your history correctly, you got a $150,000 GoFundMe was your seed money, right?
Right.
And you wanted to start fixing the homelessness problem by actually building them homes, or the houselessness problem by building them houses. And these things are so cool because they're basically like 2 4x8 sheets of plywood on one side, right? And they're kind of like a tough shed built in half. But it's amazing because they can withstand rain, wind, water. They got a nice window on them, so you've got sunlight in there. They've got a little solar panel on the top that is enough to power a light bulb throughout the entire night. So you've got light if you want to read, or 2 light bulbs.
2 light bulbs, and you can charge your phone.
Yeah, and it's got a USB port on it. So if you got an iPhone and you want to stay connected, you can answer emails if you're trying to get a job. You can be returning resumes. You can be doing the whole 9 yards.
A lot of these people have jobs, and the problem is they're being held back because they don't have the basic things like you said, a shelter and a place to plug in a phone.
Are you admitting that hyper-regulation on behalf of Democrats in every statewide office has created a housing crisis that most people can't afford the rent, so they're forced to live homelessly?
And finally, only in the White House, but finally we got a real estate
greed
president.
And people not caring is what's causing the problem.
So now you're building these things, and with that first $150,000, how many were you able to pump out?
Well, out of the first, we were in the 35, 36. A lot of money went into, just right into supplies for the homeless at first. Mm-hmm. When help, people wanting help started coming in, requests, constantly. It was like, we were like scrambling, and we needed tools to, start building all these houses and, locations. At first, we were renting, trailers to move things around.
Yeah,
we didn't even have our own trailer.
So you make these tiny houses, and then you kind of deliver them to the spot where the person is, And generally, you're getting permission from whatever private property is nearby, I assume, right?
Well, that's how we have to roll now.
Okay.
But to back up, these houses were never meant to be on the streets. And in the big picture, that's not how they're going to work.
Yeah.
They're meant to go in small communities. That's what they need to be. People need showers, laundry, bathrooms, normal stuff.
They need community for support and security too.
Right. I mean, there's a whole list of things that people need, but nobody wanted to help. And I got after months, I got tired of knocking on doors. And
what do you mean nobody? You mean just like the traditional government organizations?
No, I mean nobody.
Just nobody in general.
People don't want to help. Religious organizations. Everybody wants to help if they get the spotlight. If there's something going on at the moment, I get to be a part of that. Yeah, I'm gonna put. Hey, look, I'm helping people.
Hey, if you're trying to convince me that Christians are underperforming in the 21st century, I'm sold. But so
amen to that. We can both speak on behalf of our churches. They're doing fine. Sure. Okay.
People in general are failing at it, but they're not meant to go out there. But since nobody wanted to step up or even listen to the plan, I just started replacing tents with them. It's like, look, they're out here, they're stuck. This is a lot safer and a lot better.
And a lot better looking. It's not an eyesore. It's not. So I didn't really see any type of complaint that I would lodge as a person, because if you're living in LA and you know that there's a homeless community 2 blocks away, if you're the kind of person that's going to fear for your security or fear for this or fear for your property security or whatever, you know what I'm saying? That group's not going away. You might as well make it at least safer and better looking. And that's what amazed me about this. And so you started getting flack, which I was watching a news. And this is what blows my mind about Los Angeles is we just pulled everybody's heartstrings and passed how much was this homeless bill?
How many
the bond
billions?
Measure? Wasn't it like $4 billion or something?
It's huge.
Yeah,
ultimately, yeah.
So we just pulled and taxed out of Californians or Los Angeles city members.
We decided to give generously, that we would use this money to address the homeless problem. And like most...
And we have seen no improvement in the vast majority of these.
How do you go from A to Z?
Yeah.
And the issue is we're stuck at B.
So we pass a $4 billion bond measure, if I remember the math correctly. And so now Eric Garcetti has basically the GDP of a banana republic, in order to try and solve homelessness. And nothing's happening except for bureaucracy getting created and large corporations getting paid to do, analyses of things we might do if we get another $4 billion, Yet
it's going to continue. It's the same thing that's been going on for decades here.
And we're still trying to figure out how many there are. It's the old idea of if you just start solving it, you'll figure out how many there are.
So this is what I want to know, Elvis, is so while these guys are just trying to do analyses that cost $1 million for their friends with the $4 billion for the taxes.
It's like the Department of Defense, yes, in Space Force. But anyway.
Yeah. So while these guys are, as Mark Murphy would put it, Space Force in it, all right, you're out there actually building. Now, with that first fundraising, how many tiny homes were you able to kind of make? After you kind of tried all your research and development and all of that, how many were you able to pull off?
A little over 40.
Okay, so basically, if I'm doing the math, with $150K, you housed 40 homeless people. Is that fair to say?
Probably 40, 45, 48. There were several couples that lived in a few of the houses,
that is
and
cool.
still do. But
so maybe with 50, just for easy math.
Sure.
50, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I wish I had my phone on me, because that's about $3,000 per homeless person, right? That is literally only the amount that is averaged. I think a student in the Saugus Unified School District costs $2,800 a year. Like, I'm not kidding you, but it's like literally we could get away with housing all of our homeless for the same cost as it costs to educate a child.
Well, listen to what Elvis said, though. This is step one, which just is to give them some protection from the rain, from the elements, give them a start point. This is not by any means a permanent housing situation. But they're not in a permanent housing situation right now.
No,
this step is a step up from living in a sleeping bag or a brown box.
Yeah, okay.
So tell us about what's happening with the brown. Why are they so up against you?
Yeah,
and they.
I'm watching news reports of these people ripping your houses off the street. What's going on?
They don't want to solve the problem.
Okay.
Money is like for someone like me trying to do, do this work, sure, on that little level, that's a problem, because I need money to make things happen.
Yeah.
But if you look at the big picture, money's not the problem and resources aren't the problem. We've got more than enough. We got more than enough. We've got more billionaires in California per capita than anywhere else in the country.
Oh, but he doesn't believe in redistribution of wealth, so that isn't going to be the part of the
well,
I want you to spread my work
We just gave
ethic, not my
Garcetti
wealth.
$4 billion.
But we did just do that. That was from the people. But
it doesn't take billions of dollars to solve the problem.
No.
There's too many hands in the cookie jar.
Well, if someone goes out and gives out sleeping bags, everybody goes, that's great. You gave out blankets or sleeping bags. You did a good thing, right? That's what churches do. You went out and said, I'm just going to give you something a little more solid that happens to have the capability of charging a phone, of giving you some light, a little more protection from the element. But in effect, it's a temporary shelter, and it's going to be good for you.
Well, look here. Let this cook in your noodle.
Okay, cool.
I'm not talking countywide. We're talking LA citywide.
Yes, LA citywide.
Has over 9,000 vacant and or underutilized properties, which means ones that we're not using.
Yeah.
And we don't have plans on using right now. They're over here collecting dust.
They're free.
9,000.
Yeah.
And you're telling me there's nowhere to put small communities and get people off the streets?
Oh, look what happened in Koreatown. I got such a kick out of the fact that suddenly the Koreans who had grown up there, had found it, was part of their city, their heritage. They moved on to other places in Southern California, came back to say, not in my backyard do I want a homeless shelter. Put it on the outskirts of my former city, my former area, my former community, because it's not enough that the locals say we may or may not want it to solve this problem. The outsiders come back and say, let's do really good and not let anybody solve the problem.
What's your opposition, though? Because, like, for example, if I were Garcetti and I'm thinking, holy smoke, I just got $4 billion, I could look like an absolute champ if I made Elvis Summers the viceroy or the director chair of tiny home production, and he's doing it for like what, $3,000 a person? Like, whoa, this is awesome. Wait, I've got a population of, let's just throw out a number there, 10,000 that I got to take care of here that won't come into shelters, whether for mental illness reasons or pride or fear of violence or whatever. But if I can give them a tiny home and maybe even a tax credit to this person who has an empty lot that's not even using it because of X, Y, or Z technicality in the building code,
This is the LA City sleeping bag.
Dude, I could be a champ. Like, I could look like the socialist, liberal, bleeding heart Graham Pumbaa of the earth for fixing this problem. And all I got to do is write a check with this GDP of a banana republic that I got sitting in this bank account over here. Are you kidding me? This is it. That's easy. So where is this opposition coming from? Like, I doubt that it's people don't care. I could see maybe a little bit of NIMBYism, not in my backyardism.
Oh, there's a lot of it.
But is that it? Like, what is keeping you from having an army of these tiny houses that work? Because they're amazing, bro. Like, what is your main opposition?
LA City Council and the mayor himself. I mean, that's the top. That's the top of the chain.
So what are they doing? I mean, I saw this news report, and sometimes I'm skeptical of news report because so much of news is, I don't want to say fake news, but so hyper partisan and sensationalized you don't know if it's true news, but it's just easier to say fake news. So I'm always skeptical of news reports when I watch them, but it looks like they're ripping these things off the side of the road that you've put down. Like, and these are people who you have a first name basis with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've come to know Steve and Hank and Jennifer, and you gave them a house, and now city council is saying, no, we're ripping them off the side of the road. But they can sleep in a tent there.
Yeah, and believe me, they don't care if you're elderly. They don't care if you're a child or especially a veteran. They've had me pull houses from veterans I've given houses to and tossed them right back on the street.
So what do they want them to live in? Are they going to actually give them something, or just say, here's an army
what's their
blanket? Well, as a
reasoning?
veteran, that really pisses me off.
As long as people are there in the gutter looking miserable and it's a horrid problem, the paychecks keep rolling in.
We got to have misery so that we look really good. But when are we going to do something to help those people?
I mean,
It's a really good question.
That's a pretty ferocious claim to say that, they want to keep the homeless so that we can keep getting money, which, I mean, I wouldn't put it past some of these people. But, I mean,
it's sick. It is downright sick. But what else? You're looking at it because what you have created is kind of like a structured sleeping bag. This is not a permanent thing.
It's like
not
3 feet by 4. What is it? What's their dimension?
6 by 8.
It's like a saddlebag.
6 by 8's the kind of standard one that I make.
Okay.
So I mean, and it's easily scalable.
I mean, this thing looks like an awesome. If you could cut a little 5-man tent in half, or like a tough shed in half, that's what this thing looks like, and they're painted cool colors, with a window and a solar panel on top with a USB port that can actually charge an iPhone or something.
Don't people pay for something like this in an airport, like in Japan or many other parts of the world now?
Yeah, to take a little rest.
To take a little rest, and
Right.
is yours about the same size, or theirs even smaller?
No, I mean it's roughly they're roughly 6 feet wide, by 8 feet long, and tall enough to stand in. But I mean, part of the big problem is that all of these people that are in office, like they're not forward thinkers. They're forward thinkers for themselves, but since none of them are actually working for the people, they can't visualize. To them it's like it's a threat. Like, wait, this could actually do something and solve this problem here, or get us well on the way. That means it's going to get bigger and bigger. Well, all that money we're getting from we won't have that anymore. We got to shut this down.
Okay, so if I were to simplify your situation to a sentence right now, it would be Elvis Summers is inspired to help the homeless, and he figures out a way to build a very inexpensive and good-looking half shed that houses the homeless. But
don't use the word houses. I think we need to say,
okay,
this is like a permanent saddlebag, permanent sleeping bag to carry with you. This is almost like those little portable silver campers.
Well, they are tiny houses. I mean, and they're officially classified as that now.
They're called a tiny house. They meet the standards.
Oh yeah. Oh, believe me, the city council said, God knows how much money. They changed the city ordinances twice just for me.
To make yours a city house.
To make it so. They wanted to shut me down so bad in the beginning, and they couldn't figure it out. So some genius, who I'd like to shake his hand and punch him in the face, figured out, well, let's just make them illegal in public. And so they changed the city ordinances twice to make them illegal on public land.
But what was their grounds, though? Were they trying to say, it wasn't safe for the occupants, not safe for the people walking by? Was there, too many rusty nails sticking out?
I have never heard one good argument, period. And I wish I would, because it's, give me something legit.
Then you could remedy it.
Right. Great. Let's work on it. All the NIMBYism and the naysayers, and we don't want this and that. You know what? If you got such an issue with it, come to the table and help us make what we got going better. And if it's not good, then come up with something good yourself, and let's work together, not just shoot everything down.
Well, we're supposed to solve things in this show. And so what if you change the name from tiny houses to plastic sleeping bags?
No. We're distributing plastic sleeping bags.
I mean, you could title it anything you want. You could title it, Cupcake Hotel.
Well, I'm serious. But call it something that the city council cannot claim is a house.
But they know what it is, because they're ripping them out of the sides of the walls. Like, it's breaking my heart watching these news reports.
They'll still come, and take them. I mean, whatever you call them. I mean, they changed the city ordinance twice, specifically to put, sheds, tiny houses, small structures.
Okay,
what do you call what you see on Skid Row? Like, I'm seeing people.
Skid Row is its own monster. That's a whole issue separate from the rest of the houseless, issue. It's two different monsters.
Okay, so I'm just really trying to boil this down so I can wrap my head around it.
You're talking L.A. City. You just
solved
said it right
a problem.
there. You can't do that. It's L.A. City.
Yeah, but to me, I look at this.
There.
Yeah, but to a certain extent, I look at this, and this is why I fear. This is why I fear, and I think this. Back to my argument of why a blue wave is coming. Not coming. Sorry.
Thank you. Finally, it got through. It happened. Blue wave is coming. You just said it.
No, yeah. No, but I really fear a society that is so top-heavy with bureaucrats.
Sure.
When somebody like Elvis, who has so completely solved a problem, and a universal problem that there's Bible verses 2,000 years old about helping the homeless and those who can't put a shirt on their back. I mean, we have the parable of the Good Samaritan literally doing what Elvis just did.
Well, look, though, but it doesn't solve the issue, not at all. I mean, but it's the first step.
This is more than a Band-Aid.
Right, and there's a lot of steps. And if tomorrow we put every single houseless person into a tiny house in a community, gave them everything they needed, showers, bathrooms, services, even for the people that are, on the take and trying to, make sure that they get all the money, like it's still a problem. It's going to be a problem for, years and decades to come. You could still steal all that money, but, you're getting people their dignity back and a safe place to be, like humanity or human beings seem to have no value anymore. It's all about money and spending and what's that advertising worth. And, people don't care if someone's dying in the street and, but the media and everyone's portrayed as monsters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you don't want help. You're a drug addict. You chose to be here. Like you're a scary meth head. Like, it's a small fraction of, the reality that's out there.
Okay.
And people need help, period. Get them into a warm, safe place to be. You still got a lot of work to do, but you're not letting people suffer and die in the streets.
Okay. So Elvis Summers is here in the studio with us talking about his organization, startinghuman.org. He's actually building one of these double tiny homes with SCVI in Castaic. We're going to hear a little bit more about the supersize, about the resistance to his project and how we can help him out when we get back from this brief commercial break. Stay tuned.
Hometown.
If you see a traffic problem in our valley and would like to let us know, call the traffic tip line at 298-KHTS. That's 298-5487. 298-KHTS.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association is hosting our annual gala, the Art Classic, Saturday, September 29th from 1:30 to 5 p.m. This fundraiser highlights professionally judged original artwork by local artists in all mediums. For only $25, you can enjoy live music, wine, hors d'oeuvres, and meet the artists in person. The Art Classic will be held at Hart Hall in Hart Park. All artwork will be on display for free public viewing Sunday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. For tickets and more information, visit us at santaclaritaartists.org.
At the Brittany Foundation Dog Rescue, we believe that every dog deserves a forever home. We rescue dogs from shelters, abuse, and abandonment and make sure that they're safe at our no-kill sanctuary. We pay special attention to older dogs and sick dogs. They have a much harder time finding homes, but we think they deserve a chance too. We do adoption programs every week. Check our website, BrittanyFoundationOnline.org, for locations. Join us. You could be a forever home waiting to happen.
Did you know that nearly 1 in 3 women will experience domestic violence in her lifetime? And in Santa Clarita, our community supports its own domestic violence center with a shelter home, 24-hour crisis hotline, and bilingual counseling programs. If you or someone you know needs help, we're here. The 24-hour crisis hotline number is 259-HELP. For more information, go to dvcsantaclarita.com. Because no one should tolerate domestic violence. 259-HELP.
Every year, thousands of local children, teens, and adults receive treatment at the Child and Family Center for depression, anger, anxiety, abuse, thoughts of suicide, and drug and alcohol addictions. Our professional staff provides outpatient services at office locations, in the home, the community, and on many elementary, junior, and high school campuses throughout our valley. If you need help, contact Child and Family Center at 259-9439 or childfamilycenter.org. Improving lives, one family at a time.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. We're in the studio with Mark Murphy and Elvis Summers talking a little bit about not My Path LA. That's one of your organizations, but startinghuman.org. We're talking about these awesome tiny houses that have been popping up all over LA City, and one that's getting built here in Castaic that are, I don't want to say curing homelessness, but giving the houseless a first step towards housing that is a much better step than the traditional cardboard boxes littered with newspaper or a 5-man tent that's been converted into an attempt at a home on a 110-degree day. Okay, so we've got Elvis Summers in the studio telling us about his program, the houses, how effective they are at giving people a kind of dignity and a place literally to call home as they're kind of getting towards having a home instead of experiencing homelessness. But, I mean, my heart is continually broken because half of the articles I read about you are either like BuzzFeed kind of type articles or like, hey, look at what this brother's doing, you know. Ex-musician starts curing homelessness, and it's that kind of like cool, we love this guy kind of thing. that shows pictures of your amazing houses, or else their video of city councilmen standing as these DWP trucks or whoever they are are ripping these things off the side of the road, and I'm not understanding, like, I just in this whole conversation, I'm not understanding why all this resistance, other than a general feeling by city council people that, hey, we already knew where we wanted this money to go. We just got $4 billion to, quote, cure homelessness.
And we should mention that they will disperse this around the various cities. We are speaking of the L.A. City Council.
Yeah, this is L.A. City Council.
I have a question for you. You're meeting such resistance in L.A. City. Do you think you should look at some other cities and challenge those cities to see if they actually care more? And I use that word, care more, because our own city has got to step up. They're finally putting together a long-term, year-round program for 64 people. But the question is, how many other of our homeless need a tiny house?
Look, you show me a city that actually cares about its people that are at the bottom and need help. I'm happy to go there.
Wow. I think we ought to put a challenge down for our own city.
Okay.
I do.
No, you have no idea. Like, I'll call up Cameron Smythe and ask him what's
I'm
going
in for
on.
some
He's
dollars
in the
here.
know.
I want to see us.
We'll call up Laureen West and Bob Keller and those cats.
Okay, I'm covering one of your houses.
No.
I want to start. I'll start right now. If we can get this city, we can get the city council to consider it while they're waiting to put together this year-round shelter. Let's do something now.
There's so much space out here.
Absolutely, we've got the land.
Yeah. Okay. So you've basically figured out how to give somebody a tiny home that's similar to, yes, these rest bins you get in like the Japanese airports.
Yeah.
But city council in LA is ripping them out, and their justification is what?
Like I said,
not safety, or you said they've changed the city ordinance twice?
I've never heard anything good or legit. I mean, it's, look, like a health and safety hazard is any city's number one go-to to just, sure, deny or shut something down. Oh, it's a health and safety hazard. They tried to say it was a health and safety hazard for people in the neighborhoods and people in the tiny houses when the gutter and literally poop in the it makes no sense. They've never come out with anything legit.
This is a tiny house. Well, this is a house that has power, a little bit of power through a solar that will allow it person to be able to charge their phone and have some lights.
Yeah, just real basic.
Real basic. There's no urinal. There's no sewage. There's none of that. This isn't not going to give them the kitchen stove. This isn't any of that. This is just a place to get out of the exposures.
Oh, okay, but what?
And be protected.
To be protected.
Yeah.
Security.
Your solution is amazing so far, and everything I've seen. I encourage our listeners to check this out online. Just Google Elvis Summers and tiny house or homeless tiny house, and a million links will pop up. Do you get a feeling? I've been told plenty of things by politicians to my face that I know are BS, but I've always had a feeling of what they're really thinking behind it. Okay? Mm-hmm. Like, I could give a bunch of examples, but then Mark would just interject and say that it was, unfounded or something. But
we're pretty much in agreement with our local city council. They talk it and they're working it forward.
I'm not talking about necessarily local politics. I'm saying I've had, like, when I was interviewing people for SB 54, it was just an absolute joke what people would say they were thinking when in reality you know what they were really thinking.
Well, since we are talking locally, and I am building a larger tiny house here locally.
Yeah, Castaic. Everybody hear this? Castaic. Not here in Valencia, not here in Stevenson Ranch.
Well,
not
where's
here
the tiny home going to go? Is it in
Castaic? Well, right now it's being built in Castaic, and that's kind of what I meant by locally. Whether it's any of those little towns that you just mentioned, when the house is complete, we do need a place to put it.
Ooh,
now,
the challenge is up.
This house is being built for a veteran because there's way too many out there. Now, this isn't one of my normal 6x8. This is the middle-class style tiny house, the real deal. I mean, 28 feet by 8 feet. Okay. We're building it with 135 4th and 5th graders from SCVI Charter School.
This is bigger than the back of a personnel carrier. This is going to sound
bigger
like
than my apartment, man.
Yeah, this is big. This is.
Okay, so the only thing you need is a place to put it.
Well, we still do need some funds to finish it, and we're about to. We've been on a pause because of the extreme heat that we haven't been able to work in.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we can only build outside since we don't have an indoor warehouse to build in.
Okay.
So now that it's
you didn't want to build
down,
in 110 degree heat with a bunch of
we
first
tried.
graders that are gonna.
We tried last year, and we were all getting sick, so we stopped.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're about to start building again, and we do have some funding, but we don't have enough to finish. But yes, as soon as it is complete, then we do need a place to put it.
Now, you said you successfully had one of your tiny homes here already on Pine Street, right?
Well, no, it was same project. It just we've had to move locations because we've only had temporary, time limits to work on the project at each location we've had the house. It took us a long time to finally get approval from the board at the school to actually have it at the school and build it on school grounds. Now that we have that, that's where it is. That's where we're going to complete it.
Okay, but it can't stay there.
Well, no. I mean, once we're done building it, then we're going to present it to a veteran, and then hopefully by that point have a spot that we can put it. So whether it's private land or a vacancy in a mobile home park, or those are the kind of places that this house legally can go. So these are the spaces that we need to look for.
Wow. Okay, so the only thing keeping you from doing this thing is basically somebody saying yes.
Yeah, basically. Well, not necessarily. I mean, either saying yes or, someone that has the resources or has the options. Hey, you know what? I would love to, I have a giant piece of land. I would love to house a veteran on my property and help him get straight for his service.
Wow. Okay, cool. So it's rare. I think only in 3 shows, right, Mark? It's pretty rare that we tell people, to go do a certain thing or throw their dollars at something. But I do have to say I love very lean charities, and it seems like Elvis Summers and Starting Human operates very lean. That money donated to it actually makes it towards building a tiny house that will get a person who's experiencing homelessness off the streets. And if you have a place that you can put it for a while, I'm sure something could get worked out, right?
That would be wonderful. That would be perfect.
This is like an expansion of Habitat in that it's a smaller version, a step up that's faster, and just initially a little cost efficient as a halfway house to a Habitat house.
Exactly. It's like when I was calling it, the first step. It's meant to be a bridge between the gutter and permanent housing, because obviously that's what people really need. But that's not going to be here for a long time, and we can't continue to let people suffer and die in the streets until it gets taken care of.
All right. So the music was going to come in very gradually. And we were going to let you know that we got to go in a second here. But this is amazing. Guys, in these next 30 seconds, I got to tell you, if you can, before you go to bed tonight, check out startinghuman.org and donate. This is an amazing program. We're actually going to post a little bit more about this online. Visit us next week. This is Problem Solver Politics.
Well done.
KHTS, AM 1220 and 98.1 FM Santa Clarita. It's 8 o'clock. Time for national news on KHTS.
Misconduct by CEO Les Moonves. CBS now says Moonves